Have you ever looked at a crooked bookshelf you built yourself and felt proud of it, even though one shelf leaned slightly to the left? Even though the instructions made no sense, even though you stripped one screw and had to force it in anyway, even though a professionally made shelf would have been sturdier, cleaner, better in every measurable way. And yet, when someone casually suggests replacing it, something strange happens. You hesitate. There's a subtle resistance, almost a flash of irritation, because this isn't just a bookshelf anymore. It carries your time, your frustration, the hour you spent rereading the manual, the moment you almost gave up, the small rush you felt when it finally stood upright. This object holds a memory of you, and somehow, this flawed, imperfect thing feels more valuable than anything you could have bought ready-made. But here's the unsettling question. Is it actually valuable, or did your mind decide it was simply because you suffered for it? This isn't about furniture. It's about your mind. Psychologists have discovered something deeply unsettling about the human brain. The moment you invest effort into creating something, your perception quietly shifts. Flaws fade into the background. Value inflates beyond logic. Attachment forms before you realize it's happening. What's disturbing is how automatic this process is. You don't choose it. You don't consciously approve it. You don't even notice the moment it begins. Your brain simply rewrites reality to protect the effort you've already spent. This phenomenon has a name. It's called the IKEA Effect. And once you truly understand it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. In your work, your relationships, your beliefs, your failures, and the things you refuse to let go of. Because effort doesn't just shape what you build, it shapes what you defend. Segment 1. The Disturbing Discovery. The IKEA effect wasn't discovered in a futuristic lab filled with brain scanners and white coats. It began with something painfully ordinary: cardboard boxes. In a classic behavioral psychology experiment, participants were given flat, unbranded cardboard and a simple task: fold it into a box. No creativity, no personalization, just instructions and effort. One group built the boxes themselves. Another group received identical boxes already assembled. Then came the question that exposed something uncomfortable about human judgment. How much would you be willing to pay for this? The answer stunned researchers. Participants who built the boxes themselves valued them up to 63% more than those who received the same boxes pre-assembled. Same cardboard, same shape, same function, only one difference: effort. That was when psychologists Michael Norton, Daniel Moshon, and Dan Ariely realized something unsettling. Humans don't just value outcomes. We value labor, even meaningless labor. The moment effort is involved, perception shifts. The mind becomes protective. Criticism stops feeling neutral. Letting go starts to hurt. Walking away feels like loss. This effect didn't begin with IKEA, but IKEA perfected it. Flat pack furniture forces customers to invest time, frustration, and physical effort. The process is rarely enjoyable, but by the end, something changes. You don't just own the product, you feel like you earned it. A crooked table doesn't feel broken. It feels personal. By the time the final screw is tightened, the furniture becomes more than furniture. It becomes a story, and the brain defends that story fiercely. Here's the disturbing part. The effort doesn't even need to succeed. In follow-up studies, participants built objects that failed, boxes that collapsed, shapes that wouldn't hold. And still, they overvalued them. Failure didn't weaken attachment. It intensified it. Because abandoning the object would require facing a thought the human mind avoids at all costs. I worked hard and for nothing. Segment 2. The Science Behind the Illusion. So what's happening inside the brain? At the core of the IKEA effect is effort justification, closely tied to cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort that arises when beliefs collide. Here's the collision. I invested effort into this. This wasn't worth it. That contradiction creates psychological pain. And the brain's priority is simple: eliminate pain. So instead of questioning the effort, the mind rewrites reality. Effort becomes proof of value. Struggle becomes meaning. Time invested becomes justification. This process is reinforced by the brain's reward system. When you complete a difficult task, your brain releases dopamine. But dopamine doesn't just signal pleasure, it signals ownership. The brain marks the outcome as mine. And once something is mine, objectivity disappears. That's why people overvalue DIY projects no one else wants. Why gamers bond with characters they spent hundreds of hours grinding. Why writers cling to weak first drafts. Why entrepreneurs stay loyal to failing ideas. The effort becomes sacred. Questioning the outcome feels like questioning yourself. And this is where the IKEA effect turns dangerous. Because effort doesn't just create attachment, it creates traps. The more you invest, the harder it becomes to leave, even when staying is clearly harmful. Psychologists call this escalation of commitment. You don't continue because it's working. You continue because you've already continued. The brain whispers, just a little more, and it'll be worth it. Often it never is. The IKEA effect doesn't reward truth. It rewards consistency. Segment 3, Real-World Manipulation. This is where the IKEA effect stops being innocent. Because once you understand it, you realize it's exploited. Corporations, cults, and abusive systems weaponize effort to manufacture loyalty. Unpaid internships that promise experience. Loyalty programs that demand endless tasks for trivial rewards. Initiation rituals that feel excessive but binding. The harder something is to earn, the more valuable it feels. Cults understand this perfectly. New members are tested, isolated, exhausted, and forced to sacrifice time, money, and identity. By the time doubts appear, leaving feels impossible. Because leaving wouldn't just mean walking away. It would mean admitting the effort, the years, the pain was wasted. Even relationships follow this pattern. The more emotional labor you invest into someone, the harder it becomes to leave. Not because it's healthy, but because you built something. And once built, the mind defends it relentlessly, even when it's breaking you. The twist in application. You probably don't assemble furniture for a living. You're not trapped in a cult. You don't think you're being manipulated, and you'd like to believe your decisions are rational. But ask yourself this honestly. Have you ever stayed in a job you hated? Not because it was fulfilling, not because it paid well, but because of the years you already gave it? Have you ever stayed in a relationship long after the warmth was gone, telling yourself, I've invested too much to walk away now? Have you ever defended an opinion, a belief, or a worldview, not because it was still true, but because you've defended it publicly for years? That's the IKEA effect at work. You don't value the thing. You value your effort, your time, your energy, your identity wrapped around it. And this is where the illusion becomes dangerous. Because effort feels like progress, even when it's not. Consistency feels like wisdom, even when it's stubbornness. And loyalty feels like virtue, even when it's self-destruction. Once you see this effect clearly, you're forced to confront a deeply uncomfortable question. Am I holding on to this because it's actually good for me? Or because I built it with my own hands? That question alone has ended careers, ended relationships, ended belief systems, because the answer isn't always flattering. The IKEA effect explains why effort creates attachment, why struggle creates loyalty, why investment turns into identity. But there's another illusion, one even darker, that explains something even more disturbing. Why the human mind doesn't just attach to effort, but invents meaning where none exists at all. Because sometimes we don't just build objects. We build patterns. We build narratives. We build beliefs that feel deeply personal, deeply true, but are completely false. And once those beliefs are built, the mind will defend them just as fiercely as any crooked bookshelf. And that is why you need to watch the next videos.